So now things come together. Okay, so I want to bring up a couple of people I watched, okay, and just how the truth comes out. So it was like maybe last week or so, I was looking at this young lady on YouTube. And she talked about a time loop in 1986 when a time loop or something started in 1986, actually. And it was supposed to be some kind of cataclysmic something happened, right? And I'm going to have to go back to that time and look that up because in 1986, I wasn't even a teenager then. I was I was a preteen. So I wouldn't have paid that much attention. So I need to go back and look that up. I was about 8 years old. And some people weren't even born. So I need to look that up. But that time loop started in 1986. And she said ever since then, we just kind of been in a time loop or whatever. But I want to talk about something that I heard another person just say today. Bobby Hemmett, right? So I was listening to one of his videos, and he was talking about in 1986 was when the Kundalini was supposed to rise in black people. And I was like, wow, okay, now we see the reason for the time loop. Everything that goes on is all about black people. It's not about anybody else but so-called black people, the original people. It's all about them. It's always about them. It's not about anybody else because a lot of people that we think we see are kind of like counterfeits. They were just added, okay? They were added because we've been put in a time loop and we've been put in like a false world of simulation. So a lot of people that we think we see, because we're within this simulation too, because we're in this virtual reality too, they look real to us, but actually they don't even exist outside the simulation. It's very few that have existed outside the simulation. And that's what all of this continues to be about, is to shut those original beings down, that would look like black people today, right? All of this is always to shut that down. Now they trying to create another time loop. They trying to close the loop again. That means the Kundalini and black people are due to rise again. Like they cannot, for some reason, they cannot stop it from rising. And so they trying to do this time loop. It's all about black people. It's all about black people. Certain black people. It's all about black people. You know, so they trying to close that loop again. Because I noticed when this thing happened. Okay, you can say, well, a lot of people got the vaccine, right? But I'm going to tell you what I heard somebody say. So this person was talking, right? And she said that she has a white friend, a white female friend. It's a brown lady. Says she has a white female friend that went to get the vaccine. But the way, I guess, that she filled out her paperwork, or however she filled out her paperwork, she gave the people who were given the vaccine, she gave them the impression that she was a so-called black woman, right? Or brown woman, okay? And that she put in there that, she lived in one of the underserved communities. Okay, but so when she shows up to get her vaccine, the people say, we thought that you were something else. You're not what we thought you were. See, because they were going to give her based on her so-called race. And I keep saying so-called because we know none of that is real, right? So I keep saying so-called. So based on her so-called race, they were going to give her a different type of vaccine. So all these people that we keep seeing taking this vaccine, they giving so-called white people a different kind than they are giving so-called black people. According to this Caucasian lady that did this experiment, okay, she pretended to be a black woman on paper. And then when she showed up to get her vaccine, they stopped her and did not want to give it to her because they said, we thought you were something else. We did not know that you were white. We thought you were something else. Okay? And so, and then sometimes it has to do with, maybe they have to do with a certain brown person too. So that means that different groups of people are getting different types of vaccines. It's not the same for everybody. It's not the same for everybody. Okay? Based on what that person said, that Caucasian lady that kind of did that experiment. Okay? So, yeah, and I noticed how they kept trying to trigger the black, brown, however you like to call it, neighborhoods. When they wanted to say, media always want to put out stuff to put in everybody's subconscious. That's why I cannot stand looking at TV, because they always want to put some stuff out there to have everybody think. So at the beginning, media made it seem like, oh, black people were concerned because of the Tuskegee experiment. They lost their trust. Well, nobody should ever trust them anyway. Brown, black, blue, whatever. Nobody should ever trust they behinds, no way. They are not known to be trustworthy, no matter what color they are. You should never trust them. Okay? But anyway, they put it out there that black people were, because of the Tuskegee experiment, a lot of black people are concerned about the vaccine. And some man said this to me when I was doing the home health. I'm an OT. And some man said this to me. White man, elderly white man, like in his 70s or whatever, kept trying to get me to get the thing, right? Now, I'm not against it. I don't care. But at the same time, I'm sick of people letting the media get to them as if everybody is supposed to get it. And if whoever don't get it, it's because they believe something bad gonna happen. I never got a flu shot. I'm working healthcare. I never got a hepatitis B or C shot. I never got any I don't get any of that stuff. So it's like I don't want to have a conversation with anybody who lets media get to them as if I'm not getting this thing because of something I done heard somebody say on YouTube. I never even had the flu shot before. Okay? And so I have to end my conversation with people like that wanna bring that bull crap to me. Okay? But this is what he said. He's talking about, I understand. I know you're concerned because of what they did with the Tuskegee experiment. I know black people were. I said, let me tell you something. I'm from Tuskegee. And most black people you see today don't know crap about no Tuskegee experiment. A lot of young people born after 85 don't know crap about no Tuskegee experiment. That is a lie. Media is lying. I'm so sick of them. I'm so sick of them. I said, let me tell you something. I grew up in Tuskegee, Alabama. I moved to Cleveland, Ohio in 2006, right? Now, I'm in California now, okay? I lived in LA for like 10 years, and now I'm in a different part of California now, a more country area. But I told him, I said, when I moved to Cleveland in 2006, and, in that type of areas, maybe it's the East Coast too, but I got this a lot in Cleveland. Because I have a Southern accent, I was always asked the question, where was I from? I was always asked that question. I get that sometimes in California, not as much, although they can hear my accent. I don't get that question as much. It's like they don't care. Because I maybe they're so used to a huge diversity in California that is being from the South. So what? Like, so what? You got an accent, okay? And that they notice the accent, but they don't care enough to be asking me where I'm from. Like they don't care, although they hear the accent. But when I was in Cleveland, I got that almost all the time. Where am I from? Where am I from? Where am I from? It's like the accent, the Southern accent is something that's a new phenomenon or something, Not to cop on them, I'm just saying I got that a whole lot. Where am I from? Where am I from? But get to the point. So I was saying I'm from Tuskegee, Alabama. A lot of people did not know what Tuskegee, Alabama was. And I went there in 2006. That means I was talking to a lot of people who were, millennials, this born in like the 80s, maybe mid-80s, mid to late 80s, born around that time. Okay? Because when I talked to them, they were probably around their 20s. These are young people that I talked to. And when I say they don't know what Tuskegee, Alabama is, I said, well, have you heard of Tuskegee Institute? Have you heard of Booker T. Washington? Have you heard of George Washington Carver? They say no. They have not heard of Booker T. Washington. Now, you don't have to be from Tuskegee, Alabama to hear of Booker T. Washington, but he's known for, he founded Tuskegee Institute, which is Tuskegee University today in it's been so long, 1881. I hope I got that year right. It's been so long since I paid, and I graduated from there too, but in 1881, he founded, it was called Tuskegee Institute at the time, and it turned into Tuskegee University. I said, so have you heard of that? They say no. And that's one of the main HBCUs right there. That is like one of the main HBCUs. And when you have people who have not heard of Booker T. Washington, which Booker T. Washington is just known, that name is known all over the world. He's like a Martin Luther King. Like everybody all over the world knows about Martin Luther King. You do not have to be from Selma. You do not have to be from Alabama. You do not have to be from Georgia to know anything about Martin Luther King. Booker T. Washington has a name like that, where you don't have to be born and raised in Alabama to have heard of Booker T. Washington. That's how big his name is, no matter where you're from. But they did not know who I was talking about. They have not heard of Booker T. Washington. So I say that to say this. How the hell do they know about a Tuskegee syphilis study? If they don't even know who Booker T. Washington is, how in the world do they know about a Tuskegee syphilis study? And that's what I told that man. I said, they lied. I'm sick of media lying. That's why I don't look at it. I said, black people ain't worried about no Tuskegee syphilis study, because when I keep trying to tell folks who I am, when I get to the city, mostly when I get to the city, I keep trying to bring up with George Washington Carver, Booker T. Washington, some other Tuskegee Airmen, anything to ring a bell. They don't know who I'm talking about. Now they know who I'm talking about because they see movies like Red Tails and stuff like that. But they don't know who I'm talking about when I keep trying to bring up Tuskegee Airmen, when I keep trying to bring up Booker T. Washington, when I kept at that time in 2006, because they probably know now it's 2022. When I kept bringing up Booker T. Washington, George Washington Carver, the Tuskegee Airmen, it's like it did not ring a bell for them. Okay, and this is when I got to the city. It did not ring a bell for them. So ain't no way in the world they know about no Tuskegee syphilis study if they don't even know the doggone Tuskegee Airmen. Okay? So I said, that's a bunch of bull crap. I grew up in Tuskegee. I try to bring up this stuff to people outside of the country. They don't know what I'm talking about. Born after 1985 or born after 1982, they don't know what I'm talking about. Okay? They probably know now because it's 2022 and the movies have been made. But prior to that, like in 2006, they didn't know what I was talking about. So black people was not hesitant to take that vaccine because of some Tuskegee syphilis study. That's a lie. That's a lot of media put out there for people to try to convince to hop on black folks, to put black people in the certain so-called black people to call them out. You know, the media wanted to call black people out and to have everybody else looking at black people like, well, don't worry about the Tuskegee syphilis study. You got to get past that. See, that's like to get everybody to hop on so-called black people. When they made up that doggone lie. What black people? I want them to name a black person that was concerned about the Tuskegee syphilis study. Name a black person that was born after 1985 that can actually talk about, that really care about Tuskegee syphilis study. You ain't going to find them. Not when they could not even know who Booker T. Washington was. You ain't gonna find them. Okay? But anyway, but to get back to it, I'm about to be done, but yeah, it just made me realize what the rush was for black folks to take this thing. And they're trying to close a time loop again. So they're trying to put people in another time loop. And it's all about so-called black people and probably a certain kind of so-called black people. All so-called black people don't have the same energy. So the so-called black people in America is not the same as the so-called black people in Africa. It's different. It's a different energy and it's different bloodlines. It's something about the so-called black people in America, something about them that they're trying to shut off, okay? Because of what I notice is that so-called black people around the world, like Africans and all of that, they all suffer, they all are attacked in different ways. But what I notice is that I've never seen a group of people look so horrible on media the way black Americans have looked horrible in media. And granted, we can say, well, they did that to themselves. Yeah, but I'm going to tell you something. It seems like after 1986, 1970s, 1986, it seemed like when the 90s got here, 2000s got here, you saw a different group of Negroes. It's like black people were taking over, and I know they were because I've already seen it in a dream. I said a while ago in a dream that I had that black people were remote controlled. I said that. So what happened in 1986 at that time loop, it was a huge change in black people too. You know, it was a huge change in black people. It's almost like something happened to their mind. Something happened to they were gone. You know. And I'm going to say this. Even Hemet said that in the 1980s, you might have seen, this is nothing against the porn industry. I don't care about that, but I'm just going to tell you what he said. He said that, like in the porn industry, you might have got a few so-called black women, but not a whole lot of black women went for that. You know, not a whole lot of black women was into that. You know, but you might have seen a few. But he said in the 1990s, when 1990s got here, it was a whole lot of black women in the porn industry. A whole lot of black women. And he said, basically, a lot of black women were cloned. A lot of them were cloned. Okay? And so I remember having this dream saying that black people are remote control. And I said that it's like it was, and I was included, but something stopped me from going down the stairs. It's almost like something went off in me and stopped me from going down. And so we were all in the living room, I guess, having a good time talking. I just remember us in the living room. Maybe music was playing, but we were inside this house and we were inside the living room. And then all of a sudden, I don't know if a bell goes off or what happens, but all black people that was inside that living room was cued to go into the basement. Like whatever went off, that I didn't hear it. So it's some kind of invisible bell or something invisible that goes off. And then next thing I know, all the black people that was in that living room, they went down to the basement. It's almost like the movie Get Out. When every time that lady hit that teacup, the guy goes into the sunken place. That kind of reminds me of what I saw. Like it was something I did not hear, but somehow all the black people went in unison as one. They all went into this basement like they were being controlled, and they went from the living room into the dark basement. Okay. So it's just kind of making me tie everything together. But yeah, I'm done. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up about this young lady on YouTube to talk about the time loop of something happened in 1986 to cause a time loop, right? And they're trying to close the loop again. Okay, that's why they're doing all this stuff, because they're trying to close this loop again and trap people again. And it's all I'm seeing right now. It's really all about so-called black people. It is all about so-called black people. But anyway, and I can't get around that. I can't just let's not make it about race. I can't do it because it is about a certain group of people, and I can't act like it's not. This lady said that something happened in 1986 to cause a major time loop. And I think she might have got it from somebody else's channel, and I was trying to look on her description to see whose channel she got it from. Because whoever channel she got it from, that person described it in detail. But I can look it up. Whatever happened in 1986, I can look that up. And it just so happened, I just happened to watch Bobby Hemmett today. And Bobby Hemmett said that black people, their Kundalini was due to rise in 1986. So now it all makes sense why they were cloned like that. Why you black people act like the way they are. It's like, who are these folks I'm looking at? That's why I cannot, it's almost like when black people still trying to come together. I can't do that because I know that something ain't right. And everybody ain't supposed to just come together with all black people. Everybody got different energy on them. Just because I'm brown don't mean I'm supposed to be coming together with all brown people. But the point is that the main thing I see is that it just don't seem like it's going to happen. I don't think it could have happened in the early 80s, and I don't think it could have happened in the 70s, because there were Black Power movements, but those movements were controlled by the CIA, I believe. So those movements were controlled. So I can't even give much life to that. Those were controlled movements. I can't brag on anything that's controlled by CIA, government, and all that stuff. But like the civil rights movement and Black Panther movement and all that stuff. But yeah, and I think it's happening again. It's happening again where Black people, certain Black people everywhere. But I see what they aim at. Well, they're going all over the world with this too. We're trying to shut down, a lot of so-called Black people, Africans all around the world. Okay? So-called Black people in America and Black people all around the world. And, and they're trying to stop the Kundalini from rising again. And so they're trying to close this time loop again. I'm telling you, it's all about so-called Black people. It's not about anybody else. It's not about anybody else, because most of the people we see here are counterfeit. They're like, their spirits. They're created within this simulation. They're not created outside the simulation. They were created in the simulation, and because we're in the simulation, they seem real to us because we're in the simulation too. But you get outside the simulation, you're gonna see those folks. These folks are basically cartoon characters. They're basically video game characters, because they're not connected to anything. They're not connected to a soul. They're not connected to anything outside the simulation. Okay, so it's not about them. It's really about the original people that existed before. It's about shutting them down so they don't get back to their highest potential. Because if they get back to their highest potential, it's going to end this fake reality, and it's actually going to end the simulation. Okay. But anyway, that's it, and I'll talk later.